Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be covering the top 10 loadouts in Warzone. I know I did one not too long ago, but a lot of different things have changed to mix things up with optics, nerfs, buffs across the board. So we've kind of overhauled the majority of the list. So with that being said, if you enjoy the video, learn something new, please do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back, just double check, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. One quick heads up, until Monday the 31st, my merch will still be available for our 1 million subscriber milestone. So if you're looking to get your hands on any JGOD merch, do appreciate any support on that side. Link will be near the top of the description. Let's go ahead and get into Warzone Ranked. So we have talked about Warzone Ranked in the past, but for anyone new to the channel, I will link this down in the description as I do in most of my videos. And pretty much it shows all kinds of stats, but the ones that are particularly important, you can look at the meta this week and it'll just show you what are the most popular weapons. It doesn't always mean that these are the best weapons, just kind of what people gravitate towards for one reason or another. A lot of times the Grau ends up on this list, and you can easily click on the actual weapon and it'll tell you what the most popular loadout is, which is fully loaded. And we'll talk a little bit about this as we get a little bit more deeper into the video, but don't always read the popularity as that is the best weapon, because in reality, people are only grabbing this to restock their gun or grab this in the free loadout that comes within the 5th zone. So there's always that goes with it. But you can still use it as a useful tool. You could actually sort by KD, and you got a lot of different weapons up here that you may or may not suspect. Street Sweeper comes in the mix because it's unbelievably broken within its broken range, as a shotgun should be. And then beyond that, it's kind of bad. And then we got the AK-47 Cold War version that slips in that, and that will be making the list on our loadout. But you can literally just click on any of these and it'll give you a couple different loadouts, and you can even sort the KDs on this list and it'll kind of tell you what are the highest KDs. You can kind of look at that and figure out if you want to build your loadout or maybe experiment with something you haven't even thought of. So like I normally do with these videos, I do have timestamps. So if you want to skip to a particular section as I do explain some of the things and why I've chosen certain things the way they are, I do always have an experimental loadout as number 10, because this is one of the ones I change. I tend to leave all these pretty much the same as the season goes on until there's a big change. I set up one of these videos, I rename stuff, and I make everything work the way it's supposed to. Right now, I'm kind of playing with the Kilo. Build on this is the one it's always been: monolithic, single arms, prowler barrel, 3X, and then we have commando foregrip, 60 round mag. And then we also have the XM4 here, which the XM4 is more used as an SMG. You can use it as a sniper support. It's pretty solid in that regard, which we kind of talked about in a previous video. But right here, we're using that new suppressor, or the modified suppressor that's always been there. That's actually better now than it ever was. And then we got the task force, Tiger team, both for strafe speed, mobility. We got bullet velocity, range, raider stock, sprint to fire, strafe speed, and then we also have the 45 round mag. If you feel like you need more ammo, you could always upgrade to the 60 round mag. As far as perks go, you either run double time EOD for your first perk. There's not really much reason to use almost any of these in my opinion. And then we got overkill, or people tend to run ghost. Those are the popular most two. I think high alert has its place. Point man, if you know exactly what you're doing and you have a highly coordinated team. Hardline, a little bit less useful, but it does have a purpose. And then restock, if you're a little bit more aggro, you want to use stuns to break a fight in your favor. Definitely a good option. Then we got amped, which is the universal best choice in my opinion. Lethals, just use whatever you want. At this point, there's a lot of good options. Most popular on this side is a heartbeat, and then we also have the stun grenades. And then I have a few different loadouts here for ghost and restock. Kar98 restock, we're gonna have this normal build that you would have. We have the monolithic, the longest barrel at 27.6 inches, tac laser, sniper scope, and then we got the precision comb, and then we have the Sykov pistol. I know some people are running burst. That's completely fine. You can find some great loadouts if you want to go ahead and check out a Warzone rank, see what other options people are using. The Sykov is pretty popular and it does a good job. Monolithic auto version, we got the tac laser, 80 round mag, and then this Priz rack, which helps with aim down sight speed, especially after some of the nerfs they did to this thing. Still pretty good and solid as a single weapon. And then we got restock, claymores. And then if I have a Semtex in my hand and I decide I want to keep a Semtex, I just pick up the Semtex again. If I want the heartbeat sensor, I just pick up the heartbeat sensor. So it gives me the flexibility. So basically I have two there at each time I'm going to grab that second loadout, which kind of helps out. ZRG kind of replaced my HDR spot because I noticed I wasn't challenging as many people at super long ranges. But HDR is still a great option because of how clean its optic is, especially over the ZRG. But this one, ADS, is a little bit faster. Great bullet velocity, all that good stuff. I just think it's a little bit more practical over the HDR in most situations within about 300 meters, 400 meters. We got the agency moderator. You could go ahead and go with sound moderator if you don't mind losing a little bit of bullet velocity, since this is pretty much best in class. We got combat recon, 5 milliwatt, which is the new tac laser, 5 round because 3 just isn't enough. And then we got the serpent grip, which helps with the ADS speed, pretty much the most on sniper rifles. Sykov, same thing, running ghost. And this one, just so when I go, I can choose, hey, do I want to use the GRG? Do I want to use the Kar98? And then as we saw on that list, the Grau is used, but the most common loadout for the Grau is fully loaded. And there's good reason for that. It has some of the best mobility out of all the Modern Warfare guns. It has clean iron sights, little to no recoil, and you can sacrifice an attachment to put on fully loaded because of how good it is in all those other areas. But it's nothing particularly special in terms of TTK. It's just very reliable and is good fully loaded. This is where we get into kind of like the top 5. And this is where we get the PKM. This replaced the Stoner. I think the Stoner's still good, but the Optic change kind of destroyed what a lot of people would use. You would either use the SUSAT, which got rid of a lot of visual recoil, or use a 3x, which zoomed in pretty good. Now you're not getting that. A lot of people are kind of avoiding a lot of the Cold War stuff at range, and I think the PKM kind of fits into that niche. It's always been there. It's always been good. It's always been fun to use. It is slow, but the addition of Cold War SMGs kind of clears that up, as we'll see in a quick second. So we got the monolithic suppressor, extended barrel. You could easily go heavy barrel preference, snatch grip, tac laser, 3x. The reason why the Bullfrog fits in this so well is because it can cover your butt pretty well. If you're getting pushed, it'll allow you to kind of swap out if you don't want to get caught reloading. This thing can hold a lot of ammo. So you could either go with the 65 if you're like in trios or less, and then you go with the 85 if you're in quads. You could just not have to worry about reloading. We got the skeletal stock, Tiger Team Spotlight for the mobility, Task Force, same thing. Helps a little bit of range, offset the sound suppressor. Still get the bullet velocity, we stay up the mini-map, and we have decent ADS speed. And that's kind of how that one balances out. Number 4, this FARA, with its buff and nerf, it ends up coming in as like one of the best sniper support builds. It's kind of right there with the RAM, as you can see. We'll talk about in a little bit. And it just comes down to preference. I like the iron sights. They're fairly clean. You might want to put in an optic, so maybe you'll drop the barrel for that. It just kind of comes down to what your preference is. But I'm using the Grau suppressor since we are using this a little bit more for sniper support. If you want to go ahead and use a little bit more bullet velocity, you can actually get rid of the Grau suppressor and you can put on this newer suppressor, because then you'll offset that. But since I still want a decent amount of strafe speed, you can kind of go that route. So you could go kind of something along these lines, and then you'd end up with a pretty solid build, which will help you out range. You won't get as much strafe speed, but you have a better ADS. And then maybe you get rid of the Grau elastic and then you put on a Tiger Team. Right? So you got a little bit of flexibility, and that's what's nice about a lot of the Cold War weapons right now, is you can build them for SMG builds, sniper support, very few range, but pretty much you get that flexibility. Then we got the Spetsnaz grip, 60 round mag, and then there's kind of how you build that out. And then I've included the Swiss because it's very dang close to the Kar. I think most people prefer the Kar just because they're kind of used to it. It has a little bit better bullet velocity. The reload on this is probably the main advantage of this because it aim down sight slower, has a little bit wonky ADS animation. The reticles just aren't as clean as the Kar98, but it's still very good, a lot of fun to use, and it feels good, especially when people are within about 150-ish meters, which is a lot of gunfights that you'll end up taking. We did the Grau suppressor because we need every bullet velocity we can get, since it's pretty much worst in class out of the majority of the snipers people use. Combat recon for that bullet velocity, and then we got the 5 milliwatt, which is tac laser, serpent, and then the fast mag. Or some people are saying, hey, try the Raider stock. I haven't tried it because I haven't unlocked it. I haven't maxed this gun out. But that's definitely something I would recommend trying if you want to experience a little bit more strafe speed. And that's one of the benefits of some of these Cold War snipers, is they're built in with better mobility than a regular sniper. So you can kind of be a little bit more mobile while hard scoping. Then we move on to the RAM. Same exact build we've talked about. This is a great long range option as well, and it could be even built into an SMG form. But I think its strongest suit is a sniper support for a few different reasons. But one being that it's a little bit hard to control at really, really long ranges if this is going to be your primary long range option. But you're going to use a monolithic, Ranger, tac laser, commando, 50 round mag. And then for the optic, if you wanted to run an optic, if you were going to use this at range, you'd probably get rid of the tac laser and then you put on the VOK, or the Cronin 4x4 or 2x2, which is specific to this weapon. And then that's what you would rock for your long range option. Then you'd run like an SMG or sniper support, like MAC 10 or something would probably fit in here. It's pretty good. There's a lot of good secondary options, AK-74U, whatever. And then we got Kar98, which is pretty much the same build that we just talked about. So that's all there. and then we go into the Krig PPSh. And there's a lot of versatility here, right? With this secondary, like I said, PPSh is very good right now, but you can easily swap that out for the AK-74U, LC-10, MAC-10, which I already mentioned. So it just really comes down to preference. I've kind of got bored of the MAC-10, so I haven't really included it in my loadouts, even though it's still pretty dang good and easy to use. But right here, we're going to start off with the Krig. Obviously, they changed the optics, so this one modifies it a little bit. You're going to use Agency Suppressor, Ranger, so we get max bullet velocity, Field Agent Grip, 60 round mag, and then we either use a 3X or a 4X. Again, comes down to preference. Susat lost a little bit of its charm because it doesn't give you quite as much zoom, and it really doesn't really benefit you the way it used to. So you got to kind of pick and choose what works. And then we got the PPSh. Sound Suppressor, taking advantage of that for the extra ADS speed. Task Force kind of counters the range loss, so we still have decent range and bullet velocity. And then we got the Tiger Team, mobility, Raider stock, sprint to fire, and mobility. Even though this thing ADSs and has really good sprint to fire after all the different changes they've made to it. And then you got a 55 round drum. You could actually go with the 71. This would make it a little bit slower, but it would still be pretty fast for the SMG category. So that one just comes down to a matter of preference. And then we get to last but not least, the top dog is still the AMAX. For whatever reason, they have not been able to figure out a way to do this. I can't think of one. I think if you nerf it again, it's going to nerf it to the ground where nobody use it, because it kind of walks that fine line where it was really good, borderline overpowered, and they brought it down so it's still good, best option, easy to use for most players. And then all of a sudden they nerf it again, it'll go into the trash, and I don't think anyone wants to see that. So right here, Monolithic, Zodiac, Commando 45, or the VLK. And then we have the AK-47, which I talked about before in one of my close range meta videos, as this could be the option. But a lot of people kind of gravitated towards other thing, but I'm seeing a lot more people come back around to this, especially in competitive wager when money's on the line. They're using this type of weapon. So we got the suppressor, the normal one, not the Grau, and then we have the RPK barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, skeleton stock, and 45 round mag. So you get the mobility. It's built 100% like an SMG. I know some people are not a huge fan of the iron sights, even though they're very clean. In regular multiplayer, usually fine. But for whatever reason in Warzone, you need to land too many shots. If somebody drops shots, you kind of lose track of the target. So some people are just dropping the suppressor or the skeletal stock or the Tiger Team Spotlight. They're dropping one of the attachments to put on a microflex LED or something like that, just to help a little bit more with tracking. And that also helps a little bit more stretch out that range that it's usable and actually comfortable. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, learned something new. If you did, please do me a favor, hit the like button. If you're brand new, want to find your way back, double check, make sure you subscribe with notifications on. Reminder about that merch in case you want to go ahead and take advantage of that. And again, the links to the site, Warzone Ranked, will be near the top of the description. Appreciate y'all supporting the channel. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.